that because this is such an important topic. We talk about a lot of different things, but finances flows into everything. And especially when you have a patient or a loved one that is going to be long-term care, that you know that they're going to need care for the long term. So let's just dive in. So from a caregiver perspective, what do you think that family caregivers need the most from your background and your experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so I think if you look at all the challenges that caregivers have and the way that they have to go about like tackling those challenges, it really boils down to three things that caregivers need the most. So the first thing I think they need is more time, right? So caregivers are hunting down resources and they're figuring out which of those resources are going to fit their needs the best. They're navigating the professionals or maybe the policies that come with the resources that they find. Not to mention, like, they're making appointments and then attending those appointments, and maybe they're interviewing aides for their loved one. So caregivers are spending on average 20 hours a week on tasks like this. And for over 25% of caregivers, it can add up to 40 hours a week. So caregivers have a full or part-time job on their plate as soon as they take on a caregiving role. So time is really important. I also think that caregivers need support for themselves. So like their own well-being, right? They need help with balance, and they need help with time management, and they need help with their emotions that they're dealing with, and time for self-care. And I'm sure that you've heard from a lot of other like service providers or people that are supporting caregivers that caregivers today are juggling so much. Most of them are in what we call the sandwich generation. They are predominantly women, and they're balancing along with their caregiving role, raising their own children as well as a job, right? So finding that time for themselves is super important. And then where I come in, caregivers need money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, let's just say it like it is.
Absolutely, yeah. The terrain of what caregivers have to walk through to figure out that the care for their loved one, how that gets paid for, is absolutely overwhelming. And it's super, super confusing. And then if you get something wrong, you probably missed out on tons of money. So the impact is really, it's detrimental to caregivers. And as a result, caregivers are spending a lot of money out of their own pockets. And right now it's averaging about $825 a month, which is insane. So those are the three things that I think caregivers need: time, support for themselves, and money.
That becomes a huge challenge for a caregiver because they don't know where to start. They don't know how to pay for it. And that's what your company does, isn't it?
That is what we do. Yeah, that's a really hard challenge. So we know that like time management is a big issue for caregivers, and finding the right resources, but also money is a gigantic need. And when we think about the money, like the access to money with our seniors, we often think about Medicare or Medicaid, right? Those are the big two that you're like, okay, well, let's go down those paths. But those paths, one, are super complicated, really hard to navigate, and they're not going to be extremely successful even when you go down them, because one, they'll either not pay for all the care that's needed, or you actually won't qualify for any of the benefit. And so as a result, caregivers or families are spending thousands of dollars out of their pocket just to provide the care that an aging loved one needs. And that's not right. It needs to be fixed. And so that's what my business does, is focuses in on that financial challenge.